Hi, welcome to Bruce's Garage. I'm Bruce, and this is my garage. Today is about Milwaukee, and I'm going to tell you all about the Milwaukee tools that I use when I do car detailing, and I want to share my favorites with you. No, this is not sponsored, despite the appearance it is. It's not a sponsored video, so come on in and let's have some fun. Well, thanks for joining me in the garage today where we talk about some of my favorite Milwaukee tools that I use to help me when I'm detailing cars. Now, you obviously can see I'm a Milwaukee fan, so I'm going to disclose that right up front. I am a Milwaukee fanboy. Part of the reason I became a Milwaukee fanboy was that I wanted to stick as much as I could into one battery ecosystem. It's frustrating to have tons of chargers from different vendors with all different batteries. So that was part of my impetus when I first started with my Milwaukee tools. It has since obviously grown, but most of that is driven by the fact that I wanted to stay within one ecosystem. But keep in mind that it doesn't mean Milwaukee's the best tool for everything. I think you can count on Milwaukee being solid tools. They're definitely solid. It doesn't mean that they're the best of everything, and I'm not here to tell you they are the best at everything. I'm just here to tell you which ones I use during detailing and why I like them. So with that introduction, let's get started to the most obvious. My 15mm dual action polisher. This is the primary polisher I use. It was the first one I learned on. And so I have just gotten to be fond of this. Now, it's heavy. It vibrates, and so there are other tools out there that are smoother and maybe do a better job. This is the 15mm throw, there is the 21mm throw. So whatever floats your boat, but I really have come to kind of rely on my Milwaukee dual action polisher. It's been rock solid for me. It's gotten a fair amount of use. And I kind of have begun to understand how it works. And I don't mean the technical aspects of it. I just mean about what kind of pressure I need to apply. What speed do I need to apply? Which pads work best? Those kinds of things that come from just experience of getting to know a tool and how well it works. So I find I really like my polisher. And I would say I would absolutely rely on this for cutting as well as polishing. That's the Milwaukee. This is the 15mm dual action polisher. Recently, I wanted to branch out and begin trying to use a rotary polisher. And I've only got really one or two cars that I did a little bit on with the rotary. So I have more learning to do yet. But of course, I know it'll surprise you, but I decided to go ahead and get a Milwaukee rotary polisher. Don't have a lot of experience with it, so it's hard for me to tell you how well this thing's going to work. But I did go with the Milwaukee, and I am going to rely on this once I get some good practice and make sure that I know what I'm doing before I use the rotary. But I wanted to branch out. I've had some challenges at times really cutting to the level that I wanted to cut with the DA, and I thought the rotary might help me with that. And so that's when I got the rotary from Milwaukee. This thing's been it actually seems a lot lighter than the dual action, but, and it looks brand new because I've only used it once or twice. All right, those first two tools were pretty obvious, right? Like, you probably could guess that before you even turn the video on of what tools I would be using from Milwaukee. So let's talk about maybe one that is less obvious as a detailing tool. That's the M18 heat gun. You may say, what are you doing with the heat gun? Well, actually, I've only used the heat gun a few times, but there's two circumstances that I found this heat gun to be really valuable. Number one was I had to remove some PPF from a vehicle. It was just a small amount of PPF on a fender that really needed to be removed. And I was able to use the heat gun to kind of heat it up and loosen things up so I could peel away that part of the PPF. And I would say it worked really well for that. The second thing I used it for, this might surprise you, is when I was using Geon tire sealant, they recommended, or as a pro tip, for longer durability with their SiO2 sealant, that you heat the tire a little bit. So you get that rubber a little bit warm on the outside of the tire so that it opens the pores of the rubber, and then when you apply the sealant, it's going to, in theory, last longer. And I've used the heat gun for that, primarily because they showed people using a hairdryer, and I wasn't going to sit out in front of my driveway or in front of my house with a hairdryer blow drying the tires. So I had to use something that looked a little bit, I don't know what the right word is. I was going to say manly, I don't know. But something a little bit more tool related, like the heat gun. So that's what I've used it for. It's generally, I'll be honest with you, not a highly regarded Milwaukee tool because it doesn't quite heat up to the level that most people that use heat guns and need them to heat up, this doesn't quite maintain that temperature and get there quick enough. Another tool that I really find that I'm using a lot, it's actually one of my more frequently used Milwaukee tools, is my 1/2-inch drill driver. This thing is great with drill brushes, and I use different brushes for different things. So these are soft brushes that you can use on fabric, you can use them on carpeted mats, you can use them on rubber floor mats. But anytime I need the drill, when I want a drill brush, it's on my Milwaukee driver, and it works super well on the M18 battery system. Got variable speeds, so I really like it. It's very durable. It's gotten wet multiple times. Seems to hold up just fine when I'm out there working on car mats or some fabric. Seems to really do the job with a nice soft drill brush. That's the Milwaukee drill driver. It's 2801 is the model number. Another tool that I use almost on almost every single detail, but it never gets near the car, it never touches the car actually, is my M18 inflator. So you've probably, if you've seen any of my other videos, I do have a video about the M18 inflator, which I'll link. But I also did a short video recently about some of the other tools that I like, and the Milwaukee inflator really helps me keep my IK Foam Pro 12 with the Schrader valve. I can fill it up using this portable battery-operated inflator. It also is great for car tires. So you can use this thing. It's very lightweight. I've got the quick release chuck that I added onto it. This is an excellent tool. I encourage you to check out my video on the inflator. I would say this is one of the best Milwaukee tools, the handiest to have around for many reasons. But boy, I love it to fill up my IK sprayer, and I'm not pumping all the time. So this is the Milwaukee M18 inflator. Another tool that I have found really very helpful for me during paint correction and ceramic coatings is my Milwaukee paint correction light. This is an M12 tool that is really a very specialized light. It's not designed to be a flashlight. It's designed to be a temperature controlled light. So you can set the Kelvin temperature anywhere from 2700 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin. So from a very yellow, let's see here, get it for you. So from the very yellow light all the way to a very blue, stronger than or a little bit above the color temperature of daylight. So this is 6500 Kelvin, usually looking at about 5500 Kelvin for true daylight. This is great when you're doing paint correction. One, because it's very small, very lightweight, has a magnet on the back, which I'm always like, I just slap this right on the bottom of my Viper chair, and it just sticks right to that because it's magnetic. and I have it handy when I need it. Then I can look at how well I'm doing a paint correction, look at the swirls. I can easily turn this in all different directions. I can move the distance to the car very easily. So there's a lot of other paint correction lights available. I have one of those that you wear around your head. They also have those on a stand, the scan grips. Those are great lights too. This has a 98 CRI. So the color rendering index goes from 0 to 100. This is at a 98. So it's going to render color very accurately. So that's why, like body shops, you're trying to match a color. Or in our case, where we want to make sure that we're looking at a vehicle when we're doing paint correction or ceramic coating, what is it going to look like in sunlight? What's it going to look like in regular daylight? What's it going to look like in morning sun, where it's very yellow and orangish? You can get that with this light. You can also change the intensity of the light. So the amount of lumens. It has 3 different settings of brightness. So this is really a very, very helpful light. Again, it's not like you leave the light on and you're using it a ton, but boy, when I'm doing a paint correction or ceramic and I want to look at things close, I love reaching for this light, and it's so portable, so lightweight. It's very useful to have around. Now, these are not cheap. I think the typical price is $199. However, and I haven't seen it, I haven't really been watching the sales this year. Last year, around Christmas, I remember seeing this light for $79.99. Incredible, because I was ready to buy another one or to buy it for somebody that probably needed it because it was such a good deal. Because I think I paid $199 for it. And to see it at times for 79 bucks, I thought, was, man, that is a huge bargain. So if you're interested in this light, I'd suggest to keep an eye out for it. It's not something you'll typically find inside of a Home Depot kind of place, but because it's so specialized. However, it doesn't mean that it doesn't go on sale at times. So you got to keep your eye out for it if you're interested in the paint correction light. All right, well, continuing the theme about lighting, this is the Milwaukee Underhood light. It is designed for being used by mechanics under the hood of automobiles. It expands so that this can stretch. It's soft rubber here. This can stretch under the hood, and you can turn this light in all different directions while you're working under the hood. But I'm not much of a mechanic, so I don't use it for that. I use this when I'm doing interiors, and I will stretch this from open door to open door, like in the front to the front, or the back to the back. And then I can move this light as I'm working inside the vehicle. It provides great light. It's pretty bright. And I love the fact that I can turn it in all different directions, and it's not in my way. So there's still times a light on your head or even a flashlight might be helpful. But honestly, this thing works really well as my standard interior light. When I'm doing a lot of interior cleaning, this thing is always there with me. It's kind of the one you wouldn't expect, but it really works well. Another Milwaukee tool that I use during detailing that may not come right to mind when you think about detailing is the leaf blower. And of course, I know most of you have probably seen people drying vehicles with the blower. And I have used this Milwaukee. This is the M18, and the model number on this I will have to get for you. This is the 2724. It's the single battery. The dual battery I think works better from what I've heard, but I only have the single battery one. Probably works okay, I would say, on a coated car. So if it's ceramic coated, this can help push some of that water away from those small spots that seems to accumulate, like near doors, the hood, the front grille, the mirrors, where water tends to hang out and then drip after you've dried a vehicle. This helps clear some of that water. And it has been helpful to use. I got the little stubby nozzle on the end here. it's not a bad thing. I don't use this a ton for that. I would say I use it more to blow leaves or dirt, things outside. But it does work for that, and it is one of the Milwaukee tools that I occasionally use during detailing. So those are many of the most commonly used tools from Milwaukee that I use while doing car detailing. But if you look all around me and behind me, you can see I have a lot of Milwaukee Packout equipment and the wall mount plates along with the wall Packout accessories. So I use a ton. This is obviously the backbone of my garage and how I keep things stored and easily accessible for my use. I have found the Packout system, I have a whole video on it. I found it to be extremely flexible. I love the modular concept. So if I want to move things around at any time, I can do that. I can use different accessories if I want to put a different shelf in place. As long as I have the Packout wall mount plates in place, I can move whatever I want easily off those and move them to another location. So I really love the Packout system. I also use the Packout drawers here. So I have 3 drawers in the 2 drawer, and I have the Packout top here, worktop. And I use this a lot for interior detailing, and I keep my ceramic coatings in here as well, and I have some of my polishing pads. So it's a way to keep things somewhat close. It's on wheels, so I can move it. It's on the dolly. I can move it wherever I need it. This is, again, very flexible. So if you'd rather have the Packout cabinet on wheels, you can do that. If you'd rather have all 2 drawers and you want only 2 sets, you can do that. You want 3 sets of your 2 drawers, you can do that. So it gives you flexibility to design and utilize these tools however you want. And that's a key for me with the Milwaukee Packout system, is its flexibility to adapt to whatever my needs and uses are. I find it indispensable in my detailing garage. Another tool that I don't use super often, but I want to mention, is my Milwaukee 1/2-inch impact wrench. This thing has worked super well when I'm going to go ahead and remove wheels. If I'm doing ceramic coating on both the barrels and the face of the wheel, I will remove the wheels, and I use the impact wrench to help me do that. It's worked really well. Now, I've only done that to my vehicles. I don't typically do that to anyone else's cars, just from a liability perspective. But when I've done it with my vehicles, it's worked really well. It's pretty darn good. It makes taking off lug nuts a whole lot easier. I've paired it up with my Milwaukee lug nut socket set. And it, again, keeping everything in that Milwaukee family, it's worked super well and very reliable for what I'm using it for. Again, not a heavy duty user, but these are really durable tools. Milwaukee 1/2-inch impact wrench. Well, I hope this has been interesting for you to just learn a little bit about what Milwaukee tools that I'm using with car detailing. Because there's a lot of different tools. You don't think of Milwaukee as having a ton of tools available for detailers. But when you start thinking about it and you heard all the different Milwaukee tools that I'm using, hopefully you find that you can see there's some really valuable tools that you can use, some of which were designed for detailers and some of which were not designed for detailers, but still have their role in your detailing garage. Now here at the end, I've got a link to a number of different videos that are related to the products or practices that I've talked about today. And I hope you take a look at one of those videos, because I want to keep you learning and having fun in your garage. So thanks for tuning in today. Remember to have fun in your garage and take care.